Hey everybody. So, I'm about to take you on a little adventure. This is going to be kind of fun. Right now I'm reading in the book of occult chemistry, and it's going over the Anu here real quick. And we're going to dive into some, I guess I would call cosmic pattern recognition, is what I've been using as my title, because we're going to take a look at the Anu, and we're going to take a look at some similar things that have been created in the past by the ancients, and we're going to take a look at some pictures that correspond to these things, and I'm going to put some pieces together for you with a perspective that you may not have heard before, but it seems to jive with me. It resonates with me pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a recap real quick. I'm going to read down to about right here somewhere, and then I'm going to take you on a little picture adventure, and then we're going to do a recap after all of that. So, the ultimate physical atom, or Anu. Now, when you think of the ultimate physical atom, God created Adam, which was supposed to be the perfect man, right? So this is the ultimate physical atom right here. And if you take a look at Anu in Sanskrit, it also means the word atom, okay? So, let me read a little bit of this to you. As we have seen, a chemical atom may be disassociated into less complicated bodies. These again into still less complicated. These again into yet still less complicated. After the third dissociation, but one more is possible. The fourth dissociation gives the ultimate physical atom on the subatomic plane, the Anu. This may vanish from the plane, but it can undergo no further dissociation on it. In this ultimate state of physical matter, two types of units, or Anu, have been observed, and that's the positive and the negative that you see here below. They are like everything save the direction of their whorls, which are these things that move around the outside of it. Those are whorls. And the force for which pours through them. In the one case, the force pours through them to the outside, and this is from the fourth dimensional space, the astral plane, and passing through the Anu. Pours into the physical world. So what it's really talking about here is there is a force, like a wave from the outside. It's like a wave of energy, which is basically described sometimes as cosmic electricity, which is actually created by consciousness, but we'll get there later. And this pours into the physical world. When it goes through this Anu, what its function basically is it organizes things. It organizes things into different forms of matter. Okay? So if you can imagine like pouring water or pouring water through something, or how can I say this? Basically what happens is the energy goes through this thing, and as it comes out the other side, it forms various things. Okay? So the one is like a spring from which water bubbles out, the other is like a hole into which water disappears. We call the Anu from which the force comes out positive or male. Through those which it disappears, negative or female. Anu so far have been observed are one of these two forms. It will be seen that the Anu is a sphere slightly flattened, and there is a depression at the point where the force flows in, causing like a heart form. Each is surrounded by a field. The Anu can scarcely be seen as a thing, though it's material out of which all physical things are composed. So when that force goes through it, then it basically organizes. Okay? That's the reason it's the archetype of self-organization, because it actually organizes the force that's coming in into physical matter. Okay? And it is formed by the flow of life force and vanishes with its EBB. And what EBB basically is imagine like a wave from an ocean flowing up onto the tide, on the tide, and then it comes back down, right? So it vanishes with the tide as the tide goes back down. The life force is known to Theosophists as Fohat, and that is the energy that actually breathes through this Anu. The force for which all physical plane forces are differentiations. When this force arises in space, that's when Fohat digs holes in space. The apparent void, which must be filled by a substance of some kind, is inconceivable to nuity. Anu appear. When it says Anu appear, it doesn't mean it as one. Okay? What it means is that Anu is also plural. So Anu appear, and they start self-organizing things. If this be artificially stopped for a single Anu, the Anu disappears, which means all of the Anu disappear. There's nothing left. Presumably, that flow checked for an instant, the whole physical world would vanish as a cloud melts away in the Empyrean. Empyrean basically means the heavens or whatever. And so what we've got going on here then is it says, as long as this force is flowing through all of these Anu, okay, then we have this physical world that we live in. As soon as that force stops flowing through, it all disappears. However, there is no differentiation between what you originally had, which was the force, versus the Anu. The Anu is just simply what happens when that force concentrates. It creates these Anu and creates our reality. So our reality comes from the force, this cosmic conscious, this cosmic electricity that happens. And so let's see here. In order to examine the construction of the Anu, a space is artificially made. Now check this out in parentheses. By a certain action of the will known to students, it is possible to make such a space by pressing back and walling off matter of space. So that means students can create Anu. That means you can create Anu. That means you have the power, if you use the Force, right, from Star Wars, to create these Anu, and you can actually... So basically, in a sense, what it's saying here is you have the creativity if you know how to use your heart-mind combination to create these things yourself. Then, if opening is made and the wall thus constructed, the surrounding force flows in, and 3 whorls immediately appear surrounding the whole, with their triple spiral of 2.5 coils. And if you look at 2.5 coils, I'll get to it in just a second, this is kind of cool. And returning to their origin by a spiral within the Anu. These are at once followed by 7 finer whorls, 7, remember that, which, following the spiral of the first 3 on the outer surface and returning to their origin by a spiral within that, flowing in the opposite direction, form a caduceus. So I was right. I was right that looked like a caduceus, and we're going to go into that here in just a little bit with the first 3. So that's about as far as I'm going to go here right now. And so I'm going to take you to some pictures here real quick and show you some neat things. Okay, let's take a look at the caduceus real quick. Now, the caduceus was the staff of Hermes. Okay, Hermes, as everybody knows, is basically the same as Thoth. Okay, Hermes Trismegistus and Trismegistus, excuse me, and the Thoth. And so Thoth was also known as, this is from Wikipedia, this is Thoth. The moon not only provides light at night, allowing time to measure it without the sun, but its phases of prominence gave it a significant importance in early astronomy. The cycles of the moon also organized much of the Egyptians' society's civil and religious rituals and events. Consequently, Thoth gradually became seen as the god of wisdom and magic. The god of wisdom, okay? So which is the same as Hermes. Let me hop over to something else. Okay, now you guys have remembered I've taught you about canon laws. Canon laws were laws that the Catholic Church used in order to decide what went into the Bible or not. There's an important book of the Bible called the Book of Wisdom, and as you can see right down here, these are the books that were left out of the Bible. The 2 that I thought were important here were the Book of Wisdom, which we're going to look at here in just a second, because wisdom is associated with Thoth, right, and Hermes. And then you have Bel and the Dragon, which we may touch on here in a bit. So, the Book of Wisdom. Here's what's interesting about it. Okay. Messianic interpretations by Christians. When you get down here, and you can just look up Book of Wisdom in Wikipedia. But here's what's interesting. It says, furthermore, wisdom speaks of personified wisdom in a trinitarium. Who has learned your counsel unless you have given wisdom and sent your Holy Spirit from on high? The next verse says the salvation is an act of wisdom. In Christianity, salvation is an activity reserved for God. But it is here given to wisdom, thus identifying them with one another. And of course, this was left out of the Bible because the Bible wants you to think that there's a separate being rather than wisdom, which they left out. The canon laws they left out of the Bible. So they're saying here that wisdom is associated with it. We're going to go into this in just a little bit more here. Okay, now let's jump back over here real quick and let's take a look. Okay, the caduceus staff of Hermes thought. So basically what we're seeing, this is the god of wisdom, correct? Okay, so now we're going to go down here and I want you to look at this. In the Aquarian Mandala, okay, the caduceus staff of Hermes, the spiritual teacher of the Greeks and Egyptians known as Thoth Hermes or Hermes Trismegistus, he is the Mercury, the psychopomp, the leader of the souls of the god, and check out this last sentence. He is the power of Fohat, descending in spiral emanation through the 7 planes. So basically, okay, so we know that the Anu basically is described in the occult chemistry that it looks like a caduceus, right? Well, I was right, because if you take a look at this thing right here, you can see the wings here and here, and if you can't see them, I've highlighted them for you here to see that basically you're looking at the same thing, okay? So you've got this, this is the caduceus right here, and you've got this. Now, this is another one of those deals where the statistics are getting to the point where, if not already past the point, that it's impossible that all these things could be matching up like this. And this is how you find truth, because when you find all these things out there that are confirming each other, especially in old art, ancient art, stuff like that, and you start seeing things like this right here appear, and then you can start seeing that it's made up of things that you're hearing described all over the place, and then you can see obvious images inside it. This kind of stuff doesn't lie. This is truth in your face right here. So stay tuned. We got 12 minutes here. I'm going to make a part 2 for this for you.